My daughter was at my bedside every single day I was in that hospital. Flowers on the windowsill, hand on my arm, telling me the surgery went perfectly and I was going to be just fine. In the bed beside me, separated by a thin curtain, was an old man nobody ever came to visit. I brought him coffee on my second morning. We talked. And the night before I was discharged, he reached through the gap in that curtain, put his hand on my arm and said, "Son, you need to listen to what I'm about to tell you. Your daughter was in here last night while you were sleeping." I heard what she said on the phone. I thought he was confused. He was nearly 80 years old and medicated and alone. But 5 days after I got home, I pulled up my bank account and realized he wasn't confused at all. He was the clearest thing in that entire building. Before I get into it, drop a comment below and let me know where you're listening from and what time it is. I love knowing who's out there. And a quick note, this story includes some fictionalized elements added for storytelling purposes. Any resemblance to real people or places is coincidental, but the message behind it is real, and it's one I think is worth your time. I'm 67. I spent 30 years as a civil engineer for Pima County in Arizona. Bridges, drainage systems, infrastructure that gets taken for granted until it isn't there. Tucson was where I was born and where I built my life. My wife and I bought a house on the east side in 1991, a modest place with a big backyard and a view of the Rincon Mountains on clear mornings. We raised 2 children there. She passed away 4 years ago from pancreatic cancer. I still live in that house. I still sleep on my side of the bed. I have a son who moved to Denver 12 years ago. Steady, private, calls me every Sunday at 10 in the morning without fail. And I have a daughter who stayed in Tucson, 20 minutes from my front door. She's 40 years old. She married a man who works in commercial real estate development. They have 2 kids together, my grandson, who's 9 and pitched his first strikeout this spring, and my granddaughter, who just turned 6 and has her grandmother's eyes and her grandmother's stubbornness, which I mean as the highest compliment possible. My daughter and I had always been close. Closer, I'll be honest, than I sometimes had been with my son, who is more self-contained, who doesn't need as much from other people. My daughter called me twice a week. She brought the grandkids over on Sundays when she could. She remembered my follow-up appointments and set reminders on her phone for my birthday. After my wife died, she was the one who came over and sat with me. Didn't try to fix anything, just sat there. I trusted her completely. I want to be clear about that, because everything that follows only makes sense if you understand that first. Last October, I had my left hip replaced. I'd been putting it off for 2 years, bone on bone, grinding with every step. My surgeon said it was past time. I checked into Tucson Medical Center on a Wednesday morning, my daughter in the driver's seat, talking about the anesthesiologist she'd looked up online, the physical therapy protocol she'd researched, the things she was going to cook and bring me once I was home. She was thorough like that. She always had been. Surgery went well. I came out of anesthesia with a ceiling and a machine and a nurse's voice counting to me, and then eventually my daughter's face. She looked relieved. She told me it went great, that the surgeon was pleased, that I'd done great. I fell back asleep. When I woke up properly, they'd moved me to a recovery room with 2 beds and a pale blue curtain running between them. The man on the other side of that curtain didn't have any visitors. I could tell because I was awake a lot that first night, the way you are when you're in pain and don't want to move, and there's nothing but time and ceiling tiles. I could hear him breathing, steady, quiet, alone. On my second morning, the nurses brought coffee at 7. I asked for 2 cups and pushed one through the gap in the curtain. "I don't know how you take it," I said. He was quiet for a second. "Black is fine," he said, "thank you." His name was Sherman. He was 78 and had come in 2 days earlier for a pacemaker adjustment, following an irregular reading his cardiologist had caught at a routine checkup. He'd been a high school football coach for over 2 decades in Prescott before retiring and moving to Tucson to be closer to his daughter. His wife had died of a stroke 6 years ago. He had 2 children. Neither of them had come to the hospital. He said it simply, without bitterness, the way a man says something he's made peace with, even if the peace wasn't easy to reach. We talked for a couple of hours each morning. Football, local politics, the particular aggravation of hospital food, the way Tucson smells after summer rain. I found him easy to be around. There wasn't any performance to it. Two old men with coffee, an hour or two before the day started requiring things of us. My daughter came every day around 9 and again in the late afternoon. She brought fresh flowers on the second visit, yellow tulips, my wife's color, and organized the cards on my table, and made sure the nurses knew I needed a foam pillow wedged under my hip at a specific angle. She was attentive in a way that made other patients' families look at her admiringly. One of the nurses told me I was lucky to have someone so on top of things. My son-in-law came twice, the first time with my daughter, the second time alone, on the third evening, when my daughter had gone home to put the grandkids to bed. He was friendly and easy the way he always was, a man with a gift for seeming relaxed. He asked about my recovery, asked what the physical therapy looked like, asked whether the surgeon had been pleased. Then he mentioned, casually, that he'd been talking to a title company, said he wanted to set up a meeting when I was feeling up to it, something about a simple estate planning step, getting the house organized the right way before anything unexpected happened. He made it sound like doing me a favor. He smiled when he said it. He always smiled. I told him I wasn't really up for that kind of conversation yet. No rush, he said, totally understand. He left at 7:30. What happened after midnight that same night, I only found out about the next morning. Sherman was awake. He was awake a lot at night, he told me later. The pacemaker had his heart running in rhythms he was still adjusting to, and sleep came in pieces. He heard the door to our room open. He heard my daughter's voice, low, close to my bed. He said she stood there a while, and then she called her husband. She kept her voice down. But hospital rooms carry sound in ways people don't always account for. Sherman heard her say my name. He heard her say the word deed. He heard her say, "He's out, he won't know. If you bring the documents tomorrow before they discharge him, I think we can get this done." He waited to tell me until the next morning. He waited until my daughter had come and gone on her regular morning visit. Then he pulled the curtain aside and told me directly, without building up to it, without apology. I sat with it. Part of me went straight to defending her. She was tired, she was worried about me. She'd been under stress I didn't know about. She was probably talking about something else entirely. I wanted all of those things to be true. I wanted it the way you want something when you already sense it isn't true, and you're trying to outrun the sense. Sherman sat quietly while I worked through it. He didn't push. "I had a son who got me to sign over my retirement account," he said finally. He said it was to protect it, that it was tax strategy. I believed him because I wanted to, and because it was easier than not believing him. By the time my attorney figured out what had happened, most of it was gone. He looked at his hands. "I'm not telling you this to frighten you. I'm telling you because I would have given a great deal for someone to tell me." I didn't sleep much that last night in the hospital. The morning of my discharge, Sherman was being moved to a step-down unit for additional monitoring. We shook hands. His grip was firm, unhurried. He had the handshake of a man who'd coached for 20 years, who'd sent hundreds of young men out onto fields and knew the weight of a moment. "Trust what you heard," he said, "not what you want to believe." I left a card with my phone number on his side table. Then I went home. My daughter helped me get settled. Pillows arranged correctly, medications lined up on the counter, discharge instructions clipped to the refrigerator with a magnet that had been there since the kids were small. She stayed 2 hours. She kissed me on the forehead when she left. The house was quiet. I didn't look at the account that evening. I told myself I was too tired. That wasn't fully true. I was afraid of what I'd find, and part of me wanted one more night of not knowing. I looked the next morning. The joint checking account my daughter had suggested, we opened 8 months earlier, the one she'd described as just practical, Dad, just in case you need something and I'm not reachable, showed 7 transactions I hadn't made. Small amounts at first, then larger, $19,000 total, moved over 6 months to an account number I didn't recognize. The timing of the transfers, always weekdays, always mid-morning when I'd have had no reason to be watching. I sat at my kitchen table and looked at those numbers for a long time. Then I found the second thing. A credit inquiry from a title company, 6 weeks old, run against my name and my property address. I'd gotten an automated alert at the time and dismissed it as a system glitch. It wasn't a glitch. My attorney confirmed it inside 2 hours of my call. My son-in-law's firm had submitted an application to refinance my home using what appeared to be a signed power of attorney. My signature was on the document. It was not my signature. Someone had practiced it. I thought about the clipboard my son-in-law had handed me at their kitchen table 14 months ago. He'd said it was standard insurance paperwork. I'd signed without reading it. He'd thanked me and moved on to talking about dinner. And I'd thought nothing of it, because why would I? My attorney moved fast. He had a colleague who specialized in title fraud and a contact at the Tucson Police Department's Financial Crimes Unit. We froze the accounts, invalidated the power of attorney through the courts, and notified the title company. A forensic document examiner confirmed the forgery within the week. My attorney also pulled public records on my son-in-law's development firm. 2 civil judgments, both from the past 18 months. A mechanic's lien from a contractor who hadn't been paid. The firm wasn't struggling. It had collapsed, quietly. The way things collapse when the people running them are more focused on looking solvent than being solvent. My daughter had known for at least a year. The first transfer from my account came 11 months ago. I want to stop here and ask you something. If you're still with me, what would you have done? Would you have confronted your daughter right away? Or would you have gathered every piece of evidence first and made certain there was no way out? Let me know in the comments, because the answer matters more than you might think. I waited 11 days. I called my daughter on the 12th and asked her to come for dinner. Just the 2 of us, I said. I miss seeing you. She brought wine. She looked tired, the same tired I'd noticed outside the pre-op suite, the kind that lives behind the eyes and doesn't go away with sleep. We ate. We talked about my grandson's team, about a show she'd started watching, about whether I'd gotten back to my morning walks yet. She refilled my water glass. She passed the bread. She looked at me sometimes with something that might have been guilt and might have been care and was probably both at once. Then I set down my fork and put the folder on the table. She looked at it. She didn't reach for it. $19,000, I said. 7 transfers, an account in your name, a power of attorney I didn't sign, a refinancing application on my house. The room was very quiet. The title company has already been notified. The account is frozen. My attorney filed the paperwork yesterday. I'm not telling you this to give you a chance to explain it away. I'm telling you because you're my daughter and you deserve to hear it from me directly. She looked at the table. Your mother and I bought this house in 1991, I said. She planted the roses along the back fence that spring. She picked out the tiles in the kitchen. She died in the bedroom at the end of the hall, and I've lived in this house since then because it's the last place that still has her in it. My voice didn't break, but it was close. You were going to take it. We were going to pay it back, she said. It came out very small, almost a whisper. That was always the plan. Get through this period, get the firm back on track. With my house. She started crying. I believed the tears. That's the hardest part to explain. I believed them, and they still didn't change what she had done or what I had to do about it. I love you, I said, and I cannot let this continue. My son-in-law was arrested 6 weeks later. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of financial fraud, 1 count of forgery, and 1 count of attempted property theft. He was sentenced to 20 months in the state facility in Florence, plus full restitution. My daughter was not charged. The investigation concluded she had known and had been complicit, but that the primary architect was her husband, and the evidence supported that more than it contradicted it. She didn't escape consequences. She lost her marriage, her financial stability, the life she'd built on borrowed ground. We had hard conversations, the kind you can't come back from the same way. I told her she could call me. I told her I wanted to know my grandchildren. I told her that trust was something that would have to be rebuilt slowly, by different means, and that my home and my accounts and my life were mine and would stay mine, and that boundary was not open for negotiation. She said she understood. I believe she did. My son flew down from Denver. He stayed 8 days. We didn't talk about it constantly. We fixed the fence, took some drives, sat on the back porch in the evenings with beers and not a lot of words. That kind of company is its own kind of restoration. I called Sherman a month after I came home. He answered on the second ring. He was at his apartment off Oracle Road, less than 4 miles from my house. I brought coffee and glazed donuts. We sat at his kitchen table for 2 hours. I told him everything that had happened. He listened the way he'd listened in the hospital, fully, without interrupting, without needing to show me his reaction. "Did you press charges against your daughter?" he asked. "Against my son-in-law, yes. Against her, no." He nodded, the slow nod of a man who has thought about that kind of question for a long time. "Mine is still in prison," he said. "My son, I visit him twice a year. It's not for him exactly. It's so I can sit across from him and know I survived it, know I still get to be here." We talked about what it is to love someone who chose to use that love against you, how the love doesn't stop, it just becomes something you have to carry differently. He understood that better than almost anyone I'd talked to. Before I left, I reached into my shirt pocket. I'd been carrying my wife's reading glasses there since the morning she died. She'd set them on the nightstand the last day of her life, and later I'd picked them up and just never put them back. Carried them 4 years. A habit that became a comfort, that became something I couldn't explain. "She always told me to look closer," I said. "Put on your glasses and look at what's actually there, not what you're hoping to see." I held them in my palm. "I almost didn't look close enough. You made me look." Sherman shook his head. "You looked when it mattered. That's the only time it counts." I want to say something clearly to whoever is still here. If someone in your life, and I mean anyone, a person you raised, a person you trust completely, a person who brings you flowers in a hospital room, is asking you to sign things you haven't read, to open accounts you don't fully understand, to hand over access to your finances because it'll be simpler or just in case, pay attention. You are allowed to say, "Let me read this first." You are allowed to say, "Let me have my attorney look at it." You are allowed to say no, and you are allowed to protect what you built without feeling guilty about it. Love does not require you to leave yourself undefended. Sherman and I have coffee every couple of weeks now. He came to my grandson's baseball game last month, sat in the bleachers and hollered when the boy hit a double, hollered louder than I did actually, which is saying something. My daughter and I are still finding our way. It's slow. It's not what I expected our relationship to look like at this stage of my life. But my grandchildren come to see me on weekends. My granddaughter brings her drawings and tapes them to my refrigerator and takes them very seriously. My grandson showed me his pitching arm last Sunday and told me this was going to be the year. The roses along the back fence came up again this spring, red and white, same as every year, same as when my wife first planted them 33 years ago. The title to this house has my name on it. My accounts are mine. I'm still here. And the man who helped make sure of that was a stranger in the next bed who happened to be awake when no one thought he was listening. A man I brought coffee to because it seemed like the right thing to do. Pay attention to the strangers who try to help you. Pay attention to your instincts when they won't stay quiet. And if you find yourself being asked to trust someone's word over your own eyes, put on your glasses. Look closer. Look at what's actually there. You have built something. It is worth protecting. If this story meant something to you, leave a comment below. Tell me where you're listening from. Tell me what you'd have done. Tell me if it made you think about something in your own life. And if you know someone who needs to hear it, please share it. These stories matter because the people in them are real, even when the details are changed. Thank you for being here until the end.